Hello everybody and welcome to Trojanpear's Book Club. And the book that I've been working on, I've actually been working on for a while, and that is Godzilla at World's End. Now, it's funny because this came out before the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, because remember there was a Pirates of the Caribbean was called At World's End. So you'll see here, it's a really cool design actually. I love the little sparkly Godzilla and the, see there the little blimp or zeppelin sort of ship there. And of course you got two of the monsters that are key components of this book, Biollante and Godzilla. And of course this book is, if you follow it, this book is by Marc Cerasini. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not too positive. He's the one who helped do this thing, this official Godzilla compendium, and I love this. This is a great reference on the Godzilla movies and whatnot. But this book here is part of a series that he's done. I've actually read them prior to it. The first one was Godzilla Returns. Read this one a long time ago, probably close to the time that it first came out. This came out in '96, so it was probably close to 2000 when I did it. I think I might have been maybe high school then. And then his second book was Godzilla 2000, where he fights King Ghidorah, and also has Rodan and a couple other monsters that make an appearance in it. And I read this one many years after that, probably when I was teaching, briefly, for that brief time I was teaching. And then this one, of course, I just read here. So this, I've read all three of these books, but it's been a long period in between the three books. Saying that, it's kind of hard for me to kind of compare them, because they're very similar in the style. They all have a very similar style to them. But this isn't the last one either. There is one more that came out that I haven't read yet, but I do have it. It's on the shelf over there, and maybe next year I might read it. So but I'll let you know when I plan on doing that. Let me talk about the book. Let me read the back here and kind of give you a brief overview of what this particular book is about. It says, in the year 2001, amid the frigid ice fields of the South Pole, a group of teenage science students and a team of U.S. Army Rangers make an eerie discovery. Miles below the surface of Antarctica, a race of ancient crystalline beings has awakened after 1 million years of frozen slumber, which is kind of true when you read it. Horrified at finding their world infected with a human plague, which, again, not entirely true, these ancient ones create an army of virulent monsters, which, again, the book doesn't exactly go into this as much as this is saying here, so this is kind of deceiving. The evil insect-like Megalon lets loose on Russia. Alright, that is definitely wrong, because Megalon was not in Russia in the book. It was actually Gigan was in the, was at Russia, so that's wrong. Then it says Gigan, a cyborg, lays waste to South America. Well, no, that's wrong as well. Gigan was in Russia, and Megalon was in South America. So they totally messed that up. Manda, a gargantuan snake, invades China, and Hedra, the smog monster, descends on Japan. Those are right. As Earth becomes a battleground of titanic monsters, the young scientists and soldiers at the bottom of the world must join forces with Godzilla, the king of the monsters, to become the last line of defense against a race older than humanity itself. And a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about doesn't happen until like the last 2-3 chapters of the book. This book, this is kind of deceiving here. There's a lot of monsters in this book, I will say, though. They talked about the monsters there. There are periods there where Godzilla faces like Manda and Hedra and fights them. But actually Gigan, which I was kind of surprised about, fights Anguirus, which I have, if you're not familiar. Here he is. He's the sort of ankylosaur that ends up fighting Gigan, and this is actually my Godzilla Wars version of Gigan, but it is very similar. He's got the chest that has the saw and claws that hook him, and he's got a little laser that shoots out of his eye. Those two fight each other in the book. Godzilla doesn't fight him, which is actually not too bad because you're kind of used to that from the movies anyway, with Anguirus facing Gigan, but never exclusively. And actually, to be honest, that was probably the best part of the book, is when those two fought each other. I really liked that battle. There's also a brief appearance by Rodan, a young Rodan, and a brief appearance by Batra, who those two kind of fight each other briefly. You don't really even know who wins necessarily in that battle, if either one of them really win. As much as I talk about, you've got all the monsters and the stuff going on, really not all that much action in this book. There's a lot of setting up in this book, primarily because there are a ton of characters to introduce. They mentioned the young scientists. That's because, probably compared to this book or this book, both these books have central characters that they focus around. Now, the one thing about Marc's style is he will jump to different characters at different times in the book to gain certain types of perspectives, whether it's characters that actually live or die during the book's time, they're part of the destruction or whatnot, just to kind of get that point of view, like somebody who's in a tank that's fighting Godzilla, or somebody who's a fighter pilot or in a submarine or something like that. Pretty much irrelevant characters for the most part that he'll just kind of introduce for a chapter or part of a chapter, just to give us a perspective of what's going on with that monster from a certain area. So there's a lot of that goes on, which is interesting, but ultimately it does kind of distract from the main plot. Well, in this one, it does that, and it has many main characters, whereas these really kind of focus on just a few main characters. This one has a ton of them. These young scientists, there's can't remember, 5 or 6 of them, and then one's got a father, and then there's a pilot or a captain, and then you got another one that's in the military, and he has a backstory. In fact, there was a part where the one guy was introduced at the beginning, who was a military guy, and he had a backstory, and I kind of went a little while before I read some more, and when I kept reading, I was reading about this one character, and I had forgotten this backstory about him that didn't really come up till the very end. So it was kind of, to be honest, irrelevant backstory about the character, but it did come up, and I had kind of forgotten about it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's that guy. So and you forget it because there's so many characters to have to keep up with, and some of them are only in there for one chapter anyway, so you don't even think, well, was this somebody who was in here before, or was that just one of those temporary characters? So, you just kind of forget about it. There are so many. There's 2 reporters that are featured. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that show up in this to have to keep up with. So it is kind of busy going on with that. And you think, man, this is kind of a big book. It's 321 pages. It's only 16 chapters. But when you read it and you're getting through like half the book, and it's like you still haven't gotten to most of the monsters yet. You're like, when is this stuff going to happen? I mean, you see that there's a bunch of stuff that's got to happen, and nothing's happened yet, and then stuff finally starts happening right there at the end, where they go to Antarctica finally, and they go under there and they find, the whole situation. There's kind of a little plot twist that goes back to the beginning at the end, but you can kind of see it coming if you really pay attention to it, because you can kind of see where certain characters are going to have their relevance, because most of them are in there for a reason, and you start to kind of figure out, okay, there's going to be something involving this or this, and so ultimately it doesn't really surprise you, because it kind of sets it up for it. But it is supposed to be kind of a twist there at the end with it, and that's why this is kind of deceiving in the backstory to it. But overall, it's very good. I enjoy it. It's Godzilla. I love me some Godzilla. I've got the Godzilla posters, the Godzilla action figures, the Godzilla movies. So, I love me some Godzilla. It's my favorite thing. So here's the thing. Number one, what's the rating? Well, the rating, I do out of 5s. Okay. I give it 4.5 out of 5, which is one of the best ratings for this year. Okay, so far in the books that I've read. Loved it. Very good. It does have some issues. A lot of characters to keep up with, whatnot. But other than that, very, very good. Not enough stuff with the monsters. Didn't like a whole lot of the fights. In fact, Godzilla and Biollante fight wasn't very conclusive, to be honest. I felt that kind of robbed it. But I love surprisingly, it was very refreshing to see the Anguirus versus Gigon battle. That was very refreshing take on the book. I've got to give them thumbs up for that one. Now, the other thing is, where does this rank with the other books? Well, as I said earlier, this is very difficult to kind of tell, because I've read these books at such a wide span. I've kind of forgotten a lot of details about these first 2 books. The first book is just Godzilla coming back after, his 1954 attack on Japan, and he lays waste and whatnot. There are certain things about this that I really liked. I remember back then, because it was very different, somewhat dark, whatnot, but it was also a lot more simple. This one was bigger. It introduced King Ghidorah. Godzilla had a definite pathway, and there were certain things about it. I don't know. It's tough to say. They're both, I think, fairly equal, so it's very close. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe this one's the best, because I just like the way this one read a lot. But this one I know was very good too, but I just can't remember these well enough. So I'm guessing maybe this is the second best and this was third. But it's very, very tight in any direction. Could easily make this number 1. I could easily make this number 1. But I think this one maybe has a better chance than 1, 2, or maybe 1, 2, 3, or I don't know. This is where I'm going to go. But that is what I do. That's what I think. If you like Godzilla, pick these books up. They're definitely worth it. They do a good job representing Godzilla in his traditional Toho style. Just got to use your imagination on it, which is what books are designed to do. Highly, highly recommended. Good books to read. Now, next time, I'm going to review Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the first book. Just the first book. I don't have the others. So I'm going to read it. I should have it ready for you next week. But until then, I wish you all blessings. Bye-bye.